This is not the Avengers. This is not the X-Men. Today, we're going to talk about Marvel's The Inhumans, which is going to be airing on ABC tonight. So let's get into the first 2 episodes that I saw in IMAX right now. Now, if you're like me, originally the Inhumans is a foreign concept. We don't know an Inhuman from anything, right? We're pretty familiar with the X-Men, you know, Wolverine, Cyclops, Professor X, Magneto. We're definitely familiar with the Avengers because the movies are doing gangbusters, so Iron Man, Thor, Captain America. Like, we know these characters, but what's an Inhuman? I didn't know. Originally, it was going to be a movie, and then it was going to be part of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. And then when Ike Perlmutter stepped down and Kevin Feige took over just the Marvel Cinematic Universe, Ike Perlmutter moved to ABC Television, and then with him, the Inhumans also went. Again, I didn't know anything about the Inhumans, so I had to do some research. I started reading the comic books because I was like, well, if we're going to have a movie, I need to know about the characters so I know what I'm getting into when I go see your film. I started reading the comics, as I just said, and I actually really enjoyed the comics. They're very well written, rich, deep stories about family and community. Now, while these people can either look human, like you and I, normal, or they can look like monsters, like the creature from the Black Lagoon or something like a fairy with wings. It's a very diverse looking group of people, and that really adds to it, because while you have this crazy like House of Cards meets Game of Thrones kind of storytelling in the comics, you also have the action and adventure of the Avengers and X-Men, because all these people have powers. So it's really cool to read. And I definitely recommend you check out reading some of the comics for the Inhumans if you get the chance. I'll give you my recommendation at the end of the show. I went to IMAX. I paid the price to get an IMAX ticket to see the first 2 episodes on the big screen, and wow, what a waste of money. I don't even know what I watched, because that was not the Inhumans. It was like the first part of the Inhumans, and then they just get rid of everything that makes the Inhumans the Inhumans. Let's talk about it. Medusa has hair that kind of comes alive. She's the queen of the Inhumans. She has long, flowing red hair that literally comes to life and can move around like tentacles on an octopus, right? They cut her hair off like right away. Gone. Dunzo. So if you didn't like the way her hair looked in the commercials, don't worry, you don't have to deal with it long. They get rid of that power at the very beginning. Black Bolt is a king. He can't talk. His voice is so powerful it can destroy planets. So he has to be quiet, which is one of the very dynamic aspects of storytelling for these comics, because his people just have to trust him. He can't talk. So they have to have complete faith in their king without ever being able to talk with him, only at him, which I think is incredibly awesome for storytelling. Now we have Lockjaw, who's basically just a dog that teleports people, and they actually stay true to that. He's a dog that teleports people. Now in the comics, he's like a grumpy old man dog, just but in the show, he's like an exuberant puppy. That's fine, no big deal. It's still a dog that teleports people, and for that, I actually give him a thumbs up because they got that character right. Black Bolt goes to Earth, he gets captured by the police. Very weird, not understanding that, because he's also super strong. Now we have Gorgon, who's the head of the military, who decides to just leave his post to go to Earth also, to get away from Maximus, Black Bolt's brother, who is trying to subvert the authority of the royal family to become king himself. Let me repeat that. The head of the military just decides, I'm gonna go to Earth and do it on my own. He just leaves his post. No big deal. Just the head of the military. Just whatever. It's fine. They're trained. We don't need to worry about them, right? What are you talking about? Why would the head of the military ever just up and leave? This isn't Bonnaroo. Like, he's not just like some hippie that's just like, woohoo, doing what I want. He's the head of the military. This is a very regimented guy who's dedicated to his post and his soldiers. What? Ugh. I digress. Let's move on. Next we have Triton, who is also part of the royal family, and he looks like a fish. Well, at the very beginning of the show, they lead us to believe that they kill him because we see him get shot, and then splash! He falls off a cliff into the ocean. That's right, one of the main characters gets killed off at the very beginning of the show. Now let's talk about Karnak, one of my favorite characters in the series, who actually became so popular he got his own comic book run for a short while. I believe it was about a year or so ago, called Karnak. Now Karnak's ability is he is an incredible martial artist, and he can see the weakness in anything. A person, a construct, it doesn't matter. If he looks at it, he can just split the atoms to figure out where the weak point is to divide and conquer, which is why he can never be leader, because nobody can trust him because he knows everyone's weakness, which again, great for storytelling. Absolutely great for storytelling. So there's a lot of rich things that happen in the comics. However, in the TV show, he somehow manages to clumsily slip down a mountain, knocks his head, and he loses his power too. So now let's talk about Maximus. Maximus is the brother to the King Black Bolt. And in the comics, this is where a lot of interesting storytelling comes into play, because he's constantly trying to subvert the authority of the king to take over and be the ruler of Atalan, which is the city that the Inhumans live on. It doesn't always work out in his favor, but it makes for really good stories, and it's very complex, because just like the first Thor movie where it's brother against brother, it's brother against brother in the Inhumans. And in this movie, they touch on that, but they don't really dig into who Maximus is as an Inhuman. They only lead us to believe that he went through the Terrigenesis process and didn't come out with any powers. But if you read the comics, you know he has powers, but I don't know why they're not referencing him yet in this show. Another weird thing. So Terrigenesis, Terrigen, the Terrigen Mist. What is this? This is the ceremonial process that all Inhumans go through to get their powers, or to find out that they don't have any powers, in which case, curiously, they're sent to work in the mines like the mole people. Kind of weird. That's one of the aspects of storytelling where I'm like, wait, so the people who don't have powers aren't just sent back to Earth just to live normal lives? Like they've got to live in mines to just kind of work in mines? So they go through this ceremonial process, which awakens the Inhuman gene inside them, and they can be transformed, literally transformed, from a normal looking person like you and I into something like the creature from the Black Lagoon. Or they could just come out looking like you and I, but with wings. You never quite know, which is why the process is like revered and held in such high esteem in the community of the Inhumans, because that's what lets everybody know like what your special power is going to be. Now in this one, they haven't had a flyer in a while. One of the girls goes through the process and comes out with wings, so everybody's super excited, which I thought was cool. But overall, the storytelling in it is very flat, and I just was bored out of my mind in the theater. Now, since the show's going to be on ABC, I think more people are going to watch this show than were in the theater with me. Because again, I went to an IMAX, and IMAX theaters are huge. So lots of seats, and in my screening, there was maybe 10 people. So, and we were scattered around the theater. It wasn't like just 10 people like, you know, here. It was like 10 people like everywhere. I'm pretty sure it'll have okay ratings the first night. It might not, because the show really isn't good. It's not the Inhumans. They take away the powers of the Inhumans. They put them in weird like predicaments that don't make any sense for the first 2 episodes. Like, I get it, you want to tell a creative story to show, but like you need to tell the creative story with the powers of the Inhumans. We're just getting to know these characters. Let us know these characters for who they are and what their powers are, more than like just people stuck in Hawaii. If you're gonna watch it, that's cool. I don't recommend you do. I don't recommend you waste your time on this show. I really didn't enjoy it. I thought it was an abomination to the characters of the Inhumans in the comics. But my philosophy is this: I really don't care if you remake something, because I can always go back and enjoy the original. You can't take that away from us, right? We have the comics. So we can go back. You can make a terrible show like the Inhumans, in my opinion, because I can still go back and read my comics. Like, I don't like that you ruin these characters on the television screen and in IMAX, but you know, you took a shot. You tried to make the Inhumans work. I don't think you did a good job. What do I think you guys should read? Since I've been talking about how good the stories are in the comics and how good the characters are in the comics versus this new show, what should you guys be going to your local comic book store to pick up and check out? Now, Paul Jenkins and Jay Lee put together a story, a volume, if you will, of the Inhumans, which is really, really good. And that's what I'm going to recommend you guys pick up. Now, this story is so good that ABC basically tried to make their own version of it. There's a lot of plot points in this graphic novel that are going to be in ABC's new show. However, the graphic novel actually delivers on the story, whereas ABC is a swing and a miss. 3 strikes, you're out. So I recommend you go out and you check the Inhuman story by Jenkins and Lee, because it's definitely worth your time. Now, what does that story look like? That's the story you need to pick up. You need to go to your local comic book shop or bookstore. Make it local. Don't make it a chain. Support local. So definitely check that out. That's my recommendation. It's a great story. You'll get a lot more from each of the characters than you will on the ABC show. And spoiler alert, the characters keep their powers in the graphic novels. They don't lose them in the first 2 episodes for some strange, bizarre reason. And if you do happen to watch the ABC show tonight, or whenever you DVR it and get around to it, leave your comments below and share what you think were high points or low points for you if you're familiar with the characters. And if you're not familiar with the characters, we definitely want to hear your opinion because you're coming in with fresh eyes. And I want to hear you sound off as to what you thought about the show. All right, everybody. See you on Monday for a brand new episode of Bernansky's Vlog. Have a great weekend. Take care. Bye-bye.